Okay, so yesterday we have we have seen apportionment. In the apportionment, we have two approaches basically. One is manual approach, the other one is the automatic approach. In the manual approach, what happens is we'll post a transaction in finance, and from there, while posting the transaction, we will consider one cost center. This is regarding this common expenses. Suppose these are all the departments and the total salaries is this much, 21 lakhs. While posting the document, we will not post individually for each of the cost center. So instead we will post a transaction using one cost center. Now from this cost center, we will have to apportion the amount to the other cost center. That is what we call it as apportionment, reposting. Okay, so in this case, we have two approaches, manual approach and automatic approach. In the case of manual approach, as soon as we post a document in finance, we will take the document number and accordingly we will go into a transaction called KB61, and we will reapportion the amount to the relevant cost center. There is another option also. There is another option. So let me create few cost centers so that we can consider them accordingly. So let me so 12,000 we have, I'll say 13,000. I will say service cost center. I will say high.
Nanda,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I missed this part. Why you are opening another cost center? May I know for service cost
Just
center?
just to post a transaction for I can consider the same cost
Oh,
centers,
okay. I
but
see. Okay. Just
we
want to.
see some data already there, right?
Yes, correct.
Again, I'll have to explain you this is regarding this, right?
Right, right.
So just to avoid that,
I see. Okay.
I'm just considering a fresh cost center to see, to check, to validate the values properly. Okay, I've created 13,000, 14,000, 15,000. These are the three cost centers. Okay, so now what we will do, I'll go and post a transaction in finance. So I'm posting a transaction, let's say 10 lakhs, and I will consider 13,000 as a cost center. Okay, it means all the expenses relevant to 13,000, 14,000, 15,000 are being posted into 13,000 cost center. So then after that, we will have to reapportion the amount. I'm just saving. In the earlier case, we used to consider the document number, but in this manual approach, we don't require this cost center, this document number at all. Straight away, we can go and reassign. Now, the disadvantage of this thing is we have posted in this transaction, we have posted with 10 lakhs, right? So we can reapportion more than 10 lakhs. That is the disadvantage we will see now. So the transaction code is KB11, and earlier we did see this KB61. Now we are looking into KB11M. Path for this is easy access, accounting, controlling, cost center accounting, actual postings, manual reposting of cost, KB11N. Okay, just enter and take the dates, take the old cost center. Old cost center is 13,000 and the cost element is 4 lakhs, and out of 10 lakhs, okay, I want 4 lakhs to be adjusted to 14,000 cost center and 15,000 cost center. I will say 5 lakhs. Okay, or even if I say more than that, okay, I'm just showing you now this. So what I'm doing here? I'm just taking what cost center I did consider while posting the transaction. I'm considering the same, and out of this amount, how much amount I'm putting into 14,000 cost center, and out of the total amount, how much amount I'm putting into this cost center. This is what the new cost center. So I'm taking the amount as 4 lakhs and 5 lakhs. So I will say unit of measure each. That's it. So I'm just now saving it. So if you go and see the document number, you can see now going to KS0, sorry, KSB1 cost center line item report. What I will do, I will take 13,000 to 15,000, execute. I can see the amounts accordingly. I can see the amounts accordingly. So original amount was this, and from this deducted 5,000, 4,000, put it over here. Now this is fine. Now I will reverse this and show you something else. I'm reversing this. Okay, the document date going to be today's date. I mean 26th September 2019. 26 September 2019. Okay, 1 lakh to, yes. Now I'm reversing the document. Okay, so KB14N is the, uh, sorry, I did not consider the path. Let's see. So path is the same, KB14N. Okay, path is the same. Similarly, we also have the same path, same same reversal transaction for KB61. Okay, KB14N, taking the dates, taking the document to be reversed, I have this entire amount. Now I'm just saving, right, saved. Now when you go back to KSB1 and check the amount, you can find the entire amount 13,000 cost center. You can see now. Okay, now what I will do using this transaction, let me post more than the amount KB11N. Okay, so I'm entering KB11N. I will say old cost center 13,000, cost element 4 lakhs. I will say here 8 lakhs, here 4 lakhs. So total is coming to 12 lakhs, whereas I have entered only 10,000, but still system will allow me to do that. Okay, system still will allow me to post the transaction posted. Now, if you go back and see KSB1, we can see. So here you can see a negative balance of 12 lakhs and positive balance of 10 lakhs, total minus 2 lakhs. So here you can find 4 lakhs, 8 lakhs, which is not the correct approach. So because of that, we normally don't use this transaction KB11N. We will use KB61 because KB61 basically we will consider the document number as a base. When you go here in KB61, we will have to enter the document number, and based on that we will reapportion the amount to the relevant cost centers. So here you don't have an option to enter more than the posted value. Whereas in KB11N, you have an option. So we don't, normally we don't use this. This is for cost and this is for revenue. So we don't use these two transactions, these two approaches.
So
We,
another,
yeah,
yesterday you showed us that KB
61.
61 yesterday. So in these transactions, there is no restrictions. You can, enter any amount, correct? More than
Here,
10,000. Okay.
here
Yes.
in
Uh,
KB61.
yes.
No,
Okay. So there is a restrictions of 10,000 only. You cannot
correct,
enter.
correct.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying now.
Okay.
So that is not possible in KB61, which is possible in both the cases.
So most of the time it's better to use KB 61 only. So
Yes.
that way you can have to have a document number.
Yes.
Okay. So,
Okay, so that is the main part of this. Okay, now so far we have seen the manual approach. So what in the case of automatic approach? What do we have in the automatic approach? We have three methods basically in order to do this. Okay, so manual approach, we have two ways, KB11 and KB61. But whereas in the case of automatic approach, we have basically three methods: periodic reposting, distribution, distribution, and finally the assessment. Okay, so we will be creating a cycle in these cases and we will be posting that. So there are three methods, okay, in making the reapportionment automatically. Now the basic difference between these two with the third one is the first two will work based on the primary cost element, but whereas in the second case it works on the secondary cost element, assessment secondary cost element. So it is same in both the cases, it is the same. I mean, the approach, everything is the same, but whereas in the case of assessment, there is a slight change in it. There is a slight change in that. So that we will see now. Okay, so let's first discuss the periodic reposting. So first we will have to create a program. We will have to create a program there. We will have to enter, we will have to mention what is the basis. Now, what are we going to do? Let us say in periodic reposting, we have 16,000 cost center, 17,000, 18,000, 19,000, let's say 20,000. These are the cost centers we have. Okay, we have these many cost centers. Now, while posting the transaction, let us say 20 lakhs, we have entered into 18,000 cost center. Now, in the manual approach, we will mention clearly how much amount here, how much is here, how much is here, how much is here. But whereas in the case of automatic approach, you don't have an option to enter. the amount. Of course, you can enter the amount, but the point is we may not post the same amount all the time. You have an option to enter amount, but it is it is not a best practice to consider because the amount is not going to be the same all the time. Suppose if I want to consider rent may be the same for certain months, but later on there is a change in the rent. The owner will increase the rent. Suppose salaries, if we want to consider salaries, this is going to be standard for certain months. Then after that, there will be a revision. Accordingly, we will have to change this cycle. So what is the best approach to consider? Either you can consider percentage or you can consider proportion. What is percentage? Of course, we have seen this part already in the case of AUC asset settlement. So percentage, I will say 20%, 10%, 30%, blah, blah, blah. And what is the proportion? 3, 4, 5, 8, like that. This is what the proportion. How does the system consider here? And make sure in the case of percentage, make sure the total should not exceed 100%. It should not exceed 100%. But in the case of proportion, you can take anything. What is the total here? 24. So we can consider 3 by 24, 4 by 24, like that. Okay, 4 by 24, 3 by 24. So we can see that way. Okay, 4 by 24, 6 by 24, 8 by 24, 3 by 24, like that. We can see over here, it is 10%, 20%, 30%, and so on and so forth. So percentage, either we can use percentage or proportion. Of course, we can use the amount, but the problem is the amount is not going to be the same all the times. Okay. Now, if you want to change now, okay, we will discuss that part little later. Now, let's go into the configuration. Actual postings, period end closing. In period end closing, we have different approaches here. This is periodic reposting, distribution, assessment. This is based on the accrual calculation. This is a separate process. Then overhead. Here we will be using the costing sheet. So normally we will use the costing sheet in the case of productive costing. So we are not going to consider here. And there is a process called activity allocation. In this case, we require the activity types that we can discuss later. So typically we are going to discuss periodic reposting, distribution, assessment as part of periodic reposting. We will discuss accrual calculation little later. Okay, so periodic reposting. So let's get into the periodic reposting. Define periodic reposting. Path for this is IMG, controlling, cost center accounting, accrual postings, actual postings, period end closing, periodic reposting, period end define periodic reposting. Just execute. Here you have an option to create or change. So double click on create. So controlling area is 1248 and you will have to create a cycle. So you can give some code for something. I mean, you can give a code for periodic reposting. So before I get into that, let me create few cost centers so that the calculation can be seen clearly. So 16,000, 16,000, So 16,000 I'm taking. Okay,